let me introduce to this very peculiar woman. She's a person who got a certification in NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Program. So she has a lot of tools and a lot of experience to help us on how to deal with all these matters we find each day when we work with the people. Okay. So I wish you success with this conference.
Thank you. And today I was thinking maybe I do something completely different and tell my own story. Since considering the title of the subject being a self-leadership for entrepreneurs, and so I could tell my own story of how I became self-leading myself to become an entrepreneur, and also mix it with some exercises that maybe are not that useful for yourself because you have found your purpose in life, but probably with lots of candidates or clients that you speak, they are in that moment of their life in terms of career change. No? So maybe some of the exercises can be useful. And so it's more maybe thinking a little bit abroad also for your clients. No? And Jorge was saying normally you do something entertaining, and I'm not really entertaining, so I'm very bad with jokes, and so I thought maybe entertaining, that's not me. And so something meaningful, that being half German, I'm a little bit more structured and a little bit more getting something useful. I wanted to study business. At the same time, I wanted to study something social, but then my parents said that doesn't you can't make a living out of studying social politics and how to make the world a better place, or work in the ONU, or work somewhere in UNICEF. And so at the end, I ended up with studying business, and then I worked for a long time in companies, American banks. So it's actually interesting to work for American firms in Europe, so you blend it all together into the American way. I did an MBA at Wharton. That was also an interesting experience, those 2 years, like soaking in the American way of doing business, and then applying that in Europe. There I analyzed, my main field was as a portfolio manager, analyzing companies all over Europe and deciding which ones to invest in. And at the same time, I started questioning myself, like, what is really the purpose? Since little, I had these questions in me. I would be in the underground, look at the person, and see, why am I not that person? Why am I me? It cannot be a coincidence that that I was born this and I don't have his life and I have my life. And so I kept coming up these questions like why are we here? How the universe was created? Where are we going? And this search for meaning somehow and also balance, no, to try to bring together everything, made me start to look for. I started practicing yoga. And so I went to India for the first time, which was a real eye-opening, going to Mother Teresa's house in Calcutta, the first time going out from London, being in Goldman, and then suddenly being 1 month in the monsoon in Kolkata with the rain up to here, and being a volunteer there with people that made me cry. For 1 week I was only crying. And thinking about why is there so much injustice, or I didn't understand anything. So instead of helping them, actually these ladies that I was supposed to take care, they were consoling me, like, don't cry. And so all this, India has inspired me a lot. No? And then I came back and I started practicing yoga. So I've been practicing yoga for 9 years. I'm also a yoga teacher as a volunteer. What is the best contribution I could do to the world? No? And so I actually, instead of trying to combine everything, I started to think, okay, if I take an absence leave, and I just try to bring out, maybe take my passions, take my abilities, try to combine them, and say, And that's how I started to study NLP. At the same time, I was working during the summers, and I wanted to see how I can bring this philosophy, the spiritual side, into the material world, into companies. So the idea was to get to as much people as possible that have power to change things with a different message. There was actually one time that I was at a big in Barcelona in the stock exchange. They invited me to give a conference on economy. So how from the bank, no, they invited us, and so I stood there in front of 300 people, all older men normally, and all investors, no, potential investors. And I had to tell them about the economy, about where to invest, what stocks to pick, if bonds are better than stocks in that moment, or if we analyze companies, which to invest. And so I stood there. They asked lots of questions. Everybody was excited, like, so tell me more, like where should I put my money? But in that moment, I talk a lot about clicks. That something suddenly starts to make sense, and it can be a very, very little click, but suddenly your whole life starts to change inside. Something changes, and in that moment, I was like, one day I would like to be in front of all these people, talking to them about something else, not about where to put their money, but maybe what to do with, like, think about their life or think about the meaning. And so in that moment, already something started in me, like, say, I think I need to do something else, try to get all the contacts, the business world, not leave that because it's an asset, but bring in something that maybe not many people have the time or the interest in going to India or in studying yoga or reading all these scriptures and all these things I started to, or NLP, no, all these things I started trying to learn. And so and then another thing happens, like in all lives, no, sometimes you change because you feel like you want to change something, or the company says you makes you redundant and you have to change, or somebody personal close to you disappears and then suddenly you wake up. Or anyway, I was in this process of waking up, and then my father died, and so he started to have cancer, and so it was a 3 months with a like, we have only 3 months left. So in that moment, something as well started to accelerate in me. I think I really need to start studying even more all this and trying to bring it out and seeing what should I do with my life. No? So several changes started to occur, and then I took an absence leave and said, okay, I'm going to just take a 1 year absence leave, and I might come back in a year if it doesn't work. So now I'm already, like, I took a 2nd year of absence leave, and I renovated my 3rd year. and because people keep asking me if I'm going to go back to the bank, no, my bosses. And somehow for now, if it works okay, if I can make a living of giving courses in companies of stress management, motivation, positive thinking, I think I might go for that. No, But lots of people, they probably you get across to them, no? It's from the morning to night. Suddenly they wake up and they have to think about a different career, no? And think about what they really want to do with their lives. And 2 questions in that process I always ask myself, no? So in order to wake up, no, and in order to always be present, if I had only a few months of life left, would I do what I'm doing, or would I do something else? And so I better start now. And the second question, which I think is even more interesting, oh my God, if I have 80 more years, imagine we become all 120. Imagine I have 80 more years and I have to live the life that I'm living right now for 80 more years. It's like, no, I think I also better change. So the long run and the short run, I think, are important in order to make a decision of life, no, or of changing your life.